All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, in a new article for Uncut Magazine, and this is really an uncut kind of interview, Lindsey Buckingham lays out why Stevie Nicks did not want him in the band, at least from his perspective. And I think the points he is making in this article will certainly validate some of the things that people were thinking back a couple of years ago when this all went down. The interviewer obviously is focused a lot on Lindsey Buckingham's new solo album, which is coming out. It's going to be a self-titled album. Lindsey already has a tune out there, and it's really good, and you should go listen to it. But one of the questions the interviewer asks is about the Buckingham McVie album, which was supposed to be a Fleetwood Mac album. Apparently, they started writing this back in 2014. They had Mitchell Froome along, great producer, nice contrast, very rootsy producer who probably tones Lindsey down a little bit so he doesn't end up going all Tusk on everybody. But they said they were trying to get Stevie Nicks on board to do the Fleetwood Mac album, and she wouldn't do it. He goes, I believe over time, she has incrementally bought into the idea of herself as Stevie Nicks in capital letters. Okay, so I think the reason he goes on that she did not want to participate was because she didn't have any songs. Wow. So if she had music, maybe she would have participated. And again, Stevie Nicks apparently doesn't think that a Fleetwood Mac album would sell. Her rationale is albums don't sell anymore. Buckingham says, yes, they don't sell the way they used to, but does that mean you stop making good art? At some point, we just gave up and decided to make it into a duet album, the Buckingham McVie album. So very interesting. She basically is really controlling the situation. One of the things that you get from this article is that she puts herself on a higher pedestal, and it's too bad. The other thing that Lindsey explores here is that he believes that she was maybe feeling like she was in second place when it came to live performance. Part of Stevie's problem with me on stage was I was so energetic, and we talked about this. We talked about this sort of maniacal passion that Buckingham brings. It's almost scary for people that don't know Lindsey Buckingham and see him on stage. They're thinking, what is going on with this guy? I mean, he puts himself into the storyline of the song. And by the way, if you look at footage from the 1970s, Stevie Nicks used to do this stuff. Stevie Nicks would go off on some kind of crazy, passionate ad-libbing, and the band would just follow her to wherever she was going. And Lindsey, because he's kind of the driver in the band, he can drive the band to where he wants to go. But he goes on to say, I had so many peak moments in the show. Go Your Own Way, Big Love, Never Going Back Again, Tusk, I'm So Afraid with that long solo, and The Chain. I think she came off stage every night feeling like she'd come in second place. Even so, Stevie was still this figurehead in the band. If our options were to be, we're going to do this album or we're going to kick you out of the band, then she might have left. I don't think Mick would have been happy with that. Everyone wanted to protect the touring mechanism, and no one wanted to even contemplate Fleetwood Mac without Stevie Nicks. And he says that's understandable. The other thing is this album sales issue. I'd be very interested and very curious as a fan of Fleetwood Mac, say I've been a fan for how many years, what this new album sounds like. And I think I want to buy a copy of this album, although maybe I want to download it, maybe I'll stream it. But Fleetwood Mac is in a age group, I'll say, kind of like the Eagles and Steely Dan and all those groups, that interest in a physical copy of, you know, the CD or even the album itself, like a vinyl LP, I think that interest would be pretty high because this is the original Rumors lineup. So I don't buy that the album wouldn't sell. I think by today's standards, it would sell really well. It would probably go over 1 million in sales, and that would be a huge accomplishment for a classic rock band in this era. So what does this all mean? It just means most of what people who critiqued the situation 2 or 3 years ago, including yours truly, we were all kind of right. The fact that she didn't want to tour, she didn't want to record an album. She does like doing large arenas on her own. That was another thing that came out in the article. And Lindsey believes that because she can now do that on her own, she really doesn't need Fleetwood Mac anymore to help achieve those ticket sales, because she's going with the prevailing wisdom, which is completely understandable. And he even said it, is that, you know, touring is where most of your revenue is going to come from. But think of it this way. If Fleetwood Mac is like Mozart, right? Mozart keeps recording albums, and 100 years from now, people discover the music of Mozart. And there are different albums in the canon. Nobody is going to go back and find out, you know, how many albums this sold versus the other one. In 100 years, nobody's really going to care as much about that. Everybody's going to say, okay, this was the last album they did in their canon, and they were still a great band even then. So they're really missing the opportunity to continue to share their talents collectively with an audience that really hasn't gone away. I mean, people were showing up for the Neil Finn version of Fleetwood Mac, which I thought was just atrocious. It didn't feel like Fleetwood Mac. I mean, the 1990 version of Fleetwood Mac felt more like Fleetwood Mac than this more recent incarnation with Finn and Campbell. But maybe because that's aged a bit, and, you know, you live through it, and you still have Christine McVie being a key songwriter, an important songwriter in the group, and Stevie taking a bit of a backseat role, but still there without Lindsey Buckingham there. It's tough to do Fleetwood Mac without Lindsey or Stevie. Let's just be honest. It's really not a good idea. And it's surprising that she wouldn't come on board even without a song. I mean, even if she had a song, she always says she's writing poetry all the time. I'd be shocked to think that she couldn't have contributed one song, but according to Lindsey, she didn't have any songs. So that might have been the beginning of the end. The big question is, even after all of this that came out, see, what's cool is Lindsey is getting this out of his system. He's letting everybody know that, you know, he didn't want this to happen. People feel threatened. Stevie feels threatened by his onstage persona, which is the real deal. One of the reasons people go see Fleetwood Mac is to kind of see this onstage tension between Stevie and Lindsey. And it ends up being Lindsey with all this passion and Stevie just standing there at this stage. And it might be age for Stevie Nicks. It might be this, you know, I don't want to work this hard anymore. It may be that she just doesn't have that same inner passion she once had for this dynamic between her and Lindsey. But it sounds more like she just doesn't want to play second fiddle to the guy who has most of the energy and the passion in the band. If you're looking at energy and passion, it's Lindsey 1, Mick Fleetwood 2. And then after that, it's kind of a draw. Maybe Stevie Nicks 3rd, John McVie, Christine McVie, then John McVie. Obviously, John's just sitting there playing bass. He's not doing anything really crazy over there. So in any event, Uncut Magazine, just Lindsey unleashed. Really powerful stuff.